Hey guys, Cam from 15 back out with another video for you guys. Back with another Chicago Bears video in terms of news and updates for you guys. I know the last few videos have mostly been Los Angeles Clippers videos, and if you're a Bears fan, you're probably like, bruh, you're not a Bulls fan? No, I'm not a Bulls fan. I'm a Clippers fan. But anyways, we do have some Bears news, and the Bears news that I do want to talk about, it definitely came out of left field on the day it came out, when Adam Schefter tweeted about Ryan Poles. So Ryan Poles, and the Bears have agreed to reach an contract extension that ties him to Chicago for the next 5 years through the 2029 season. Poles had 2 years remaining on his old deal, but now the Bears have had him and new head coach Ben Johnson both under contract for a matching 5 seasons. So the Bears give Ryan Poles a contract extension, which will tie him to Ben Johnson on the same timeline. So obviously you're here to get what are my thoughts on the fact that they gave him a contract extension. Now, I already talked to my Uncle Daryl about this, and he's okay with the deal because especially the fact that it lines them up together. Um, I'm kind of iffy on the contract extension, to be honest. And if I'm really, truly, honestly being honest, I don't think Ryan Poles deserves this contract extension. I really don't. Like, if you're looking at things that he's done to warrant that contract extension, here is like some of the things he's done. Okay? In terms of a cap stability, type of whole thing of getting our cap space to be in the good position it is today. He's done miraculous wonders with the cap situation since he got here. He has not mismanaged the cap like Ryan Pace did in his tenure, where Ryan Pace would blow our draft picks and pay every single guy he could to a, you know, crazy amount of money, which effed up our cap situation, which only basically kept us mid to average. Now, by cutting costs and everything, it's made us bad, yes, but the cap situation has been much better. He's been very flexible with how he pays dudes, and unless he feels like he's got to, he doesn't really truly massively overpay for guys. He finds ways to sign these guys or sign these quality free agents, to solid deals, solid, to be honest, solid team friendly deals that where it doesn't kick you in the ass so far into the future, and it also doesn't, hurt you, financially now, in the now once you make that deal. So that is another good thing. He's done a better job at managing the draft picks and how to acquire draft picks. That's been another phenomenal thing. See, again, coming off of Ryan Pace, who would give away freaking draft picks. And if I want to do a comparison to the damn Clippers, the Clippers are on the same boat. The only difference is, they traded all their draft picks away like they were candy from a candy store. And even if you're a Bears fan and you want to get my thoughts on my Clippers, you know, for background information, I don't like how they're doing the fucking business of the organization currently constructed right now. And them mismanaging their draft picks is legitimately one of the main reasons why. Um, just like with Ryan Pace, he mismanaged the draft picks and he would always trade away draft picks or give away draft picks as if they're nothing. Or if he ended up using draft picks, he would just waste draft picks on talents that had no business being drafted at that particular spot. Two names to mention, either Adam Shaheen in the second round, high in the second round, and then obviously Mitch Trubisky being obviously like not qualified to be the number two overall pick in a draft, not above a Patrick Mahomes or even above a Deshaun Watson at the time, right? So, there's so you get that whole thing. There's that. And he's done a good job with that. The relationship he's built with the players, good. And the fact that he's built a good relationship with George McCaskey and Kevin Warren has also been freaking good. Um, and then also, in some cases with the coaching thing, you know, he finally admitted to making a mess up. And that's finally getting the courage, even though personally, in my opinion, I think it had more to do with Kevin Warren in the room than Ryan Poles. But, that's kind of the thing. But letting go of Matt Eberflus, even after doubling down on a guy that you thought was the dude to lead the team, and then you realize, like, oh, yeah, actually, he's not the guy. Okay, yeah, this is going south. So, yeah, and then, he's made some quality draft picks, some quality signings for this team, and he's put the team in a good position for the future. It's just the team just hasn't been good and hasn't shown enough to warrant, getting better. But those are probably my reasons why, okay, yeah, you can make the case he does deserve the contract extension. Now, personally, if you ask me, again, like I said, I don't think he deserves the contract extension. And I think this is even more of a bungling with the Bears, the fact that this dude had 2 more years left on his first contract, and we're already giving him a contract extension. And again, I understand if other Bear fans are just like, well, it lines him up with Ben Johnson. What are you talking about? And stuff like that. To me, Ryan Poles hasn't shown enough to warrant a contract extension. And here's what I say. The dude has been the worst. Under his helm, the team has been the worst and one of the worst NFL teams in the league, you know, the past 3 years. On top of it, he talked about in his first press conference about taking the North and never giving it back. Ninja, we haven't taken nothing. We've been dead last in the doldrums of the NFC North, and we have never given that away, or we've never wanted to reach out of the doldrums to at least maybe get third or fucking second place. Under his watch, the team has lost more than 10 games in back-to-back years. Like, we've been on big losing streaks under his watch. And yes, mostly of that has to do with the coaching, but at the end of the day, he's the guy that hired Matt Eberflus. Whether that was McCaskey's telling him, hey, these are the three candidates you got to choose from. You can't do any outside searches. At the end of the day, he decided out of the two other names, out of Dan Quinn and then Jim Caldwell, he thought Matt Eberflus out of that list was the best available guy to go with. Now you can make the case other, McCaskey's may have got involved in that shit, and it was especially Bill Polian because he was an indie guy and Eberflus came from Indianapolis. But you get my point. Regardless, at the end of the day, Matt Eberflus put pen to paper. He signed Eberflus to be the head coach, and on top of it, in after year two, people were questioning why are you not potential? Are you interviewing any potential candidates? Maybe talking to another candidate just in case, like if shit goes wrong, maybe you need to like basically kick things down to the tire. And he basically talked about how he chose Matt Eberflus and how he basically doubled down on Matt Eberflus and how, for example, he didn't talk to a guy like a Jim Harbaugh who's on the Chargers right now. Um, he stuck and he doubled down on Matt Eberflus. And in year three, that epically went wrong from beginning to end. When you knew you were drafting a quarterback, you should have removed the current head coach so then you can get a new head coach to pair with your young rookie quarterback. So then year one, it's not a wasted year of development because your ass wanted to see, we believe Justin was the one guy that held us back. And then you thought Caleb Williams could come in and fix all of your fucking problems without realizing, dog, he's just a rookie. And then you're tying your rookie to an incompetent coaching staff that you then okayed the hiring of Shane Waldron, probably one of the worst offensive coordinators in the league at that time, who was even worse than, dare I say, Luke Getsy was. Like, I honestly think Luke Getsy could have been a better impact of a offensive coordinator for Caleb than fucking Shane Waldron. But you wanted to place the blame on Luke Getsy, on a Justin Fields as if they were the problem, without realizing that realistically it was the head coach that was the problem the entire time. And you made that mistake by doing that, and it cost you a year of development of your rookie quarterback that you drafted, knowing you were going to take in the draft, knowing you told him and his dad, it doesn't matter what you do, we're taking you, and you didn't decide to move off on the coach. Like somebody who came from an organization with Patrick Mahomes, a very, probably right now, a top five NFL quarterback if the game were to end today. You should know how much of an offensive mind can do for a rookie quarterback. And you said, yeah, let's hitch our wagons to Eberflus for one more year. And then when shit got bad and all this shit came out, and then the freaking Fail Mary and stuff like that came out, and then the Detroit game and the fact that the team, you can clearly tell the players were not playing for Eberflus anymore. They were sick of listening to the dude's voice, and you hear all these excerpts about how after the Detroit loss, fucking guys like Jalen Johnson were just flat out done with Eberflus to the point the following Monday you just had you just had to cut the guy loose. You had to cut him loose, and you fired him. Now, again, like I said, I do think that had more to do with Kevin Warren basically saying, no, this is unfucking acceptable. We cannot be embarrassing ourselves on national TV like that. Again, I don't know what the role behind the scenes, how the Eberflus firing went, but I truly do believe that was more of a Kevin Warren decision to say, go up to George and be like, George, I understand you ain't done this in your team history, but right now, that locker room in there, it is not good. At least we can somewhat save the locker room and make things somewhat better if we get rid of the coach. Because right now, those players don't believe in him. And we cannot make it to where we go out next Sunday, we have another embarrassing event, and then guess what? Next thing you know, we're losing everything about our players. And then next thing you know, maybe players don't want to come here no more. So, that's the whole thing. And then when you add in certain decisions Ryan Poles have made, the coaching staff stuff obviously is his biggest and most well-known glaring issue that he's had. The next thing is comes to when it's somewhat evaluating talent in the draft, right? So in the first couple of rounds, he's good. He hits. Now, there's one thing Ryan Pace was really damn good at. It was drafting late round draft picks. And because those late round draft picks ended up becoming really good players for the Bears under his watch. Ryan Poles has kind of been the opposite. These late round draft picks are from round three on, like they haven't been impressive. Obviously, me and my uncle have talked well enough about the Velus Jones experience. The Velus Jones experience was terrible. If you're going to go a receiver, there was better receivers on the board at the time. Better than Velus Jones Jr., who basically, to my knowledge, I don't know what team he's on right now. This is a guy that's basically out of the fucking league. For all I know, I could possibly next spring be watching a UFL game, and he might be on a UFL team. That, the neglecting of the offensive line for 2 years or 3 years until year four, and finally realizing, oh, I actually need to build an offensive line. Which I think that was more of Ben Johnson's doing. But 3 years, and you did not absolutely do nothing for the offensive line. You only really truly drafted Darnell Wright, who's actually one of your more solid offensive line players. And since then, you just signed or drafted these average to below average dudes that are getting blown up the moment the snap is freaking snapped or the ball is snapped. And you just neglected that. You didn't do anything about that. You just said, we'll be fine. We'll get quality dudes. If I can sign these free agent offensive linemen on the cheap and they give us and they hit what they hit, we'll be good. Without realizing, no, you need basically really damn good to almost all pro caliber play from your offensive line for your offense to even function correctly. Because if it's not functioning correctly, well then everything's bad's going to happen. And you see how we revamped this offensive line. You got Drew Dahlman. You paid the money to go get a actual competent center. You traded for a guard in Joe Tooney, who comes with the experience, who is a Super Bowl champion, who is a leader in that locker room, who is a leader that can be on that offensive line, that can be in that offensive line room, not only showing the young guys, but other teammates, hey, you fucked up here. Get that shit corrected. Otherwise, we can't function. And somebody that's also reliable, who doesn't get hurt too much. Yes, Jonah Jackson didn't have a good year last year with the Rams, but under Ben Johnson when he was with the Lions, he was really damn good. Familiarity there. So you improve your right guard position. You already have Darnell Wright, and then you already have basically with what we see with Ozzy Trapillo and the fact that people are talking really highly of him from what we hear, he may potentially be the starting left tackle because Braxton Jones more than likely is going to lose that due to his injury, and on top of it, just being average to below average play. And it's just not good enough from a left tackle. And he might be potentially getting traded soon with the fact that is the case. And I still even think that you still need to go out and find, and probably in the draft next year, and still draft maybe with your first overall pick in the draft next year, preferably probably more defensive end if you don't address that, but you can make the case you should probably draft whatever the best available left tackle is on the board. Because we don't know how Ozzy Trapillo is going to look. Maybe he ends up becoming a really good left tackle. And if he's not, well, then you got to draft one in the draft. Otherwise, you got to find whatever all pro left tackle somehow hits the free market. And usually, sometimes that doesn't happen because you typically have to draft and develop a left tackle into making them a dominant force. And I hope Ozzy Trapillo, he's good enough to be that dominating all pro type of left tackle for the future. And that's a guy that okay, no, we're locking you up. We're not letting you test the waters. You want this money? Here's the money. That's another blunder in Ryan Poles where I don't think he deserves the extension. The offensive line mismanagement has been terrible from his perspective, and they always put it off all the time, all the past 3 years, like as it was no big deal. But in reality, it was a big deal, and you neglected that. And mind you, this is the same dude that played offensive line when he actually was in the NFL. But the problem is, he signed guys that look more like him that are practice squad to below average like players that couldn't make it into the league or isn't good enough. Like they're only good enough if you give them like one game to start because they're filling in for an injury, not for the course of a season. Like I hope the offensive line next year is a solid to good offensive line. I don't want it to be bad where it's giving Caleb Williams issues where he can't stay upright. If the offensive line is obviously solid to good, where they're giving Caleb Williams time in the pocket to throw the football down the field, well, then that's freaking fantastic. That's all I'm asking for. I don't want this below average to average offensive line play. I want solid to good. Shit, and if we get great offensive line play, well, then we're already getting ahead of the curve. That's why you went out there and you signed one of the best offensive line coaches on the market. And then obviously the contract situations with certain free agents and the trading of them. Obviously, biggest name comes to mind, Chase Claypool, of how bad that freaking trade was, trading away a high second round pick for a guy that's not even on your team, that's basically out of the league. You know, it I don't know if this, in my opinion, some Bear fans may differ, but I don't think he deserved this extension. I'd rather would have ridden out these 2 years, see how the team looks, and then if the team is still middle of the pack and they're not doing good by his contract year, then you let him go and you don't bring him back, and you tell Ben Johnson, "Hey man, let's get you know who's a guy that you want that you can see yourself working with side by side, that you guys can work alongside each other and get this, ship turned in the right direction, right? But the Bears felt like, if we can line everybody up, we're good. So in some cases, you are lined up. GM and coach or coach and quarterback are lined up. And now you have your GM and your coach lined up. And again, like I said, I will give props to Ben Johnson. He's the guy that chose to come here. He's the guy that chose to work alongside Ryan Poles. And he said he had 100% trust in Ryan Poles. So it's clear if this doesn't go right, then him and Poles are probably going to be gone. And then after that point, shit, man, if Ben Johnson can't work out here, dude, I don't know if the Bears will ever get it right in terms of it. And it just might be that situation where it's like, yeah, maybe it might be a thing where the owners actually do have to sell the team for this team to be good. And we actually get an owner in here that, one, understands the fucking game of football and is like, no, for no, we're not going to tolerate mediocrity. We want to be good. We want to do a great job, and we're going to do whatever it takes to be good. And if that means we're hiring the best of the best and for crazy amounts of money, F it. Because let's just be honest. Like, if the Bears are not good under the Ben Johnson era, then I don't know when they'll be good under strictly just the McCaskey ownership. And again, the whole thing is the McCaskey family ever going to sell their team? I don't know if they will. So for all we know, that's the thing. That's why I'm not gonna get my hopes up to the season, like going crazy. I hope the team is good enough to where they're competing in every single game. And if it comes down to the final game where it's make or break playoff, where if we win, we go into the playoffs, but if we lose, we miss the playoffs just barely, we're good. That's what I would take. But if we're gonna be fourth place in the division, we're 5 and fucking 12 again. I'm about to be like, bro, is this ever going to get fixed? And at that point, that's when I'm gonna turn my head to the ownership, and I'm just gonna be like, maybe you guys just don't know what you're doing up there. Maybe you're not building a good enough culture in your building, and you're putting up all these propaganda stuff like you think things are going wrong. All right. But in reality, they're going wrong. And because you guys don't know football, well, like that's the thing. And I respect they're trying to do everything they can to have the team be good. And they understand, no, we need to be better. But at the end of the day, if you don't know lick about football, then what the point? What the hell is the point in owning the team outside of family business? At that point, sell the team to somebody that honestly deserves or, actually wants to invest in the team in terms of a football mindset and they know the game of football and they're willing to do whatever it takes. That I can tell with the McCaskies, that's what I can tell what they do. They try to do whatever they can to make the team be as good as they can. The problem is they don't know football like that. It's a bunch of accountants in that building from ownership. And again, like I said, I don't know if they're ever going to sell. They may never sell, especially with the fact that Virginia McCaskey passed away. But regardless, we'll see. We'll see. I will say this puts Ryan Poles more of on the hot seat, in my opinion, even though he got a contract extension. It's gonna ease now, but regardless, start going into next year, it really is gonna put him on the hot seat, just from the standpoint, dog, you better show why you want this contract extension. Like, Ninja, you better warrant that. And that means I'm not saying you need to be perfect, but some certain decisions for for certain positions on this team, you need to get correctly. I love Tremaine Edmonds. I thought it was a great sign at the time, but you can't deny Tremaine Edmonds has been a bust of a signing. TJ Edwards has been better than Tremaine Edmonds. And honestly, after next year, I'm okay if Tremaine Edmonds has another bad year. I'm okay with letting him walk. But honestly, if he is having another bad year, that's where you get early on before the trade deadline, and you maybe trade him to a team to get some assets in return for him. to say, okay, this clearly didn't work out. Let's get rid of you. But that's the thing. I will say Ryan Poles has been a very conveniently lucky GM with the way he got the first pick, with the way he got a second chance at getting a head coach after the coaching malpractice from Eberflus. He's frankly been absolutely 100% lucky. And sometimes in sports, you have to be lucky. He has 100% been lucky in his job currently right now with everything that's happened to him. I believe 100% if none of that shit ever happened, he'd probably be have been gone and fired just like Matt Eberflus who just got fired too. But because he has some of these things that the Bears can say, well, okay, this, all right, okay, but yeah, but to be honest, to be honest, we all should have expected this, even if you're in disagreement of the move, like I am, because again, Ben Johnson always talked about how he wanted stability. This gives the Bears stability. Him and Ben Johnson are tied to the hip for the next 5 years. Plain and simple. They're tied to the hip. And if things by 2029 aren't going well, then Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles will probably be gone. And if things somehow get worse and get crazy, well, for all we know, fucking Ryan Poles could be fucking kicked to the curb sooner rather than later. We'll see. We'll definitely see. But only time will tell. Again, like I said, I hope the Bears are good. I just don't know. That's why I'm not going to get my hopes up for this team. All I just want from this team is them to be competitive every single week. Ben Johnson showing way better coaching than Eberflus is. I'm not going to say that Ben Johnson is going to be perfect. I know he's going to make mistakes. Especially as a first-time head coach, I know he's going to make mistakes. I just need him to be better than Matt Eberflus. I need him to hold the team accountable better than Matt Eberflus, which the players have come out and said he has been doing a really good job at holding us accountable. I want them to be consistent with that. So if you know a player fucked up and they're continuing to fuck up, sit his ass on the bench. Teach him a lesson and say, no, we're not going to allow that here. See, in Eberflus world, we let that pass. In Ben Johnson coaching world, no, we don't. And then realistically, I just want Caleb Williams to look good to the point you see he's progressing and he's taking the next step. And okay, he is going to be that dude. He's going to be a dangerous problem. He is going to be that elite all-pro quarterback the Bears finally been waiting for and stuff like that. So we'll see, man. We will see. But regardless, I'm not too keen and I'm not too happy about extending Ryan Poles. Personally, I would have waited after the 2 years to see what he does, and then that would come to my decision as Kevin Warren and George McCaskey and saying, okay, has this guy done enough to get us in a better position? And if he hasn't, well then, okay, let's let him go. We'll just let him know we're not going to be renewing his contract. And if he did, well then you just tell him, okay, here's your contract extension. Like, I think they paid Ryan Poles a little bit too early. I would have loved to see it where they go into this year, no contract extension. Let's see how the team plays. And Ryan Poles, and if the team doesn't do good, you let Ben Johnson in the building know, like, hey, man, I understand you want stability, but right now this guy isn't coming up and doing his end of the part, right? So we may let him go after the last year of his deal. So be prepared for that. And then that's when you go to Ryan Poles and say, hey, man, this is your last year. You can't get it right this year. We're more than likely going to have to move on. But they decided to pay him with 2 years remaining on his deal. So we'll see. Hopefully, this means Ryan Poles continues to improve the team and he continues to make the obvious moves and not makes the moves that we're scratching our heads wondering why the hell did you do that? This will give us some job security for, I would say, the next 2 years. The next 2 years. After the second year, I think that's when it's fair game to say, if this guy's not doing his job correctly and we're still not a good football team, well, then you can make the case he may not even live or may not even still be employed by the end of the contract in 2029 because the Bears aren't afraid. Now knowing that the Bears fired a coach midseason, I don't think the Bears are going to now be afraid, especially under Kevin Warren. I don't think the Bears will be afraid to fire a GM with shit, 3, 4 years left on a contract. Like, I don't think they would. Now that they fired a coach midseason. So regardless, that's the news for Chicago Bears stuff. So if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Chicago Bears content. Training camp is coming up. I believe it starts next week. If not next week, then the week after. So that's gonna be exciting. I'm not really gonna talk about training camp stuff. I'm just gonna be looking at the headlines. Hopefully that training camp is kind of like just OTAs where the coaches are doing everything, but things are now where the players now and going into training camp, they need to start getting better at some stuff that they were struggling on in OTAs and stuff like that. So, you know, Ben Johnson 100% said in his press conference, you know, at the end of OTAs, basically saying like training camp isn't some ramp up. It's like it's go time now. It's like, okay, this is your learning period in OTAs. We're gonna see now that the fire is on, right? What you guys doing? Have you guys been studying the playbook in your off time? Or have you guys just been chilling on vacation doing absolutely nothing? Like that's the one thing I heard about Ben Johnson that I loved. He's taking training camp very seriously. And I know Bear fans in attendance, especially the more pessimistic ones, are gonna be watching to see, okay, is his coaching staff what the reporter's been saying, in terms of how they handle in practice. Because this will be the first time we'll see the Bears practice out in the pub. The fans will see the Bears, this coaching staff practice in public. Is it all fun and games like we've been seeing the past few years that people have been reporting? Or is this shit like, no, it's serious go time? Like, you're going to see us working these players' asses off. So I hope it's more the latter, where it's different and it's not lackadaisical. It's like straight out intensity. The fans see like, oh, Ben Johnson is on his shit. They're not holding back. They're not like previous Bears coaching staff. And it would also match up with what reporters say of how like, no, these dudes, Ben Johnson and staff, they don't mess around in practice. They don't. So there's that. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Chicago Bears content. Again, with the preseason coming up, me and my Uncle Daryl will be back for our weekly Chicago Bears recaps, and stuff like that as we watch this team and hope this team gets good, and stuff like that. But yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna get out for guys. Catch you guys in this video. Till then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your day or your night or in this video. Until then, guys, peace.